I am Katie Mileski, Director of Career Services here at Walsh College. With me today, I have Cheryl Carr, who is our career advisor. Now, Cheryl has over 20 years of career services and HR experience. So I want to take this opportunity, Cheryl, to kind of pick your brain on interviewing. I know you've done a ton of guidance, mock interview information for students and alumni, helping them get through that process. So I want to spend some time diving in today on kind of the different areas of how to really prep in that interview, how to go through the interview, and then what you're supposed to be doing after the interview. Perfect. All right. So we're just going to jump on in on the actual preparation piece of it. So when you are meeting with students and they have just found out that they have an interview and they're getting ready to go, what is some of the key research that they should really be doing as they get prepared for this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. So research is key in preparing for an interview. And I find a lot of students and alumni don't focus on that, but researching the company's website, looking at their mission, their values, what are their products and services. So really knowing that website, because they're going to ask you, they may ask you the question, what do you know about my company? Why do you want to work here? So you want to be prepared and ready to answer those questions. Do you know anybody at that company that is currently working there or that has worked there in the past that you can connect with, that you can learn a little bit more about the culture of the company? What articles, press releases do they have out on social media? So just really looking at Glassdoor and what's out there, what have other employees said? So again, research is key because that company is going to ask you questions and you want to be prepared for that.
And I'm sure that probably plays into the role of how they effectively answer those interview questions, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And the more information you know about that company, the better. I can't stress you if it means over-preparing and do that.
Sure. And so we do offer the opportunity to do mock interviewing with students and alumni. Do you think that's a helpful piece of some of the services that are offered here?
Yes, mock interviews are going to be really helpful because it's going to help you gain confidence because you'll be practicing with a career services professional or a peer, a colleague in your industry. But specifically with career services, we can give you feedback on how you've answered your questions, how well you're prepared. So the more you're prepared when you do a mock interview, the better we've been able to help you. So yes, mock interviews are going to help practice because anything like practice makes perfect, just like public speaking.
Sure.
The more you practice your and you know your topic, the better you're going to be, the more confident you're going to be and answer those questions well.
And I bet too, sometimes when you go through that mock interview, it's an enlightening experience for students and alumni when they start to answer those questions out loud.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, okay, I don't like the way that sounds. I need to kind of reframe my answer to something I'm more comfortable saying out loud when you're in that high stress opportunity.
Yes, I've heard many students and alumni have actually recorded themselves and listened to themselves and found areas to improve upon. Actually practicing in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Would be helpful. How are you, delivering your answers? And so really saying your answers out loud are key, whether it's through a recording or looking at yourself in the mirror. And that way, again, it's going to build your confidence. You're going to be prepared. You're going to let your personality shine through.
That's a great idea, too, because you're able to see what you're actually putting out. When you record, you can hear your tone of voice, you can hear your answer, but you can also see your mannerisms and what your face and your hands are doing and showing. So that's great to be able to record and kind of get that feedback in a different way. So one of the things I want to ask when it comes to preparation is the mistakes. Are there any common mistakes that you see people make when it comes to getting ready for their interview?
I think, again, not researching the company, so and making sure that you're ready to talk about the company and how your skills align specifically with that job that you're interviewing for, and being able to articulate that and communicate that in a professional manner is really important. So you really need to know that job description and how do your skills align with the skills that company's looking for, because it's not just all about you as you prepare. It's about the company and how you can help that company and obtain what their goals are.
Absolutely. So as you kind of get prepped, you're ready to go for this interview. I think one of the most nerve-wracking things potentially for some is not the content, but the actual appearance and dress.
Absolutely.
What feedback would you give somebody as they're going in and preparing on the actual attire that they wear to an interview?
So think about it. I sometimes even setting out your clothes the night before, so you know what you're going to wear. You know, you're coming in put together. You're not coming in with wrinkles on your hair is not unkept. So being prepared is key to the evening before, and making sure that your attire is professional, because from head to toe you want to have a professional and conservative look. Making sure that your hair is well kept again, and if you're a male, making sure that your facial hair is well groomed or removed. Make it nothing too flashy, and like fingernails and cologne needs to be toned down if at all. I think that's a common issue, is that people may wear too much cologne during an interview.
Sure.
But really, just if you're unsure, really overdress. I mean, you can't overdress for an interview. Know the company culture and what the dress is, but you want to definitely be a step above that. And from head to toe, look the part. If you look the part, you're going to be more confident, and you're going to really come off as, I'm the candidate you want to hire.
I love that. I think that's great feedback, because that confidence piece is one of the biggest parts about how you're going to feel and how you're going to present yourself when you walk in.
Absolutely.
So just to kind of switch gears here, covering preparation, when you really actually get to the interview part of it, how do you make that strong first impression? When you walk in the door and you are there for interview day, how do you let them know that I'm prepared, I'm ready to go? How do you make that impression?
Yeah, so definitely, your enthusiasm, you want to come, for that job, a genuine interest that you want to be hired for that position and you're the candidate. But as well as a good eye contact. During that interview, what's your, are you sitting up? Are you engaged? Are you leaning forward? Show those active listening skills during the interview, but let the interviewer lead the interview. You should really take cues from them, and you go along with that. But and if you're interviewing on a panel, you want to make sure that you make eye contact with everybody on the panel. So your whole body language needs to be engaged. You're interested. You want your personality to come through, because it really is about a conversation. It's not really about an interview. You're interviewing them as well as them interviewing you. Is this the right fit? Am I going to fit into that culture of the company?
That's very true. I would also, I know you touched on it a little bit, and I want to go into it a little bit further, but what are some of the key elements about body language that when you're sitting in the interview, you as an interviewee should keep in mind, but also about those that are interviewing you?
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking again, gestures. Are you using hand gestures and things like that to show that you're engaged, but you don't want to overdo it?
Sure.
Again, leaning forward, smiling. People hire who they like, approachability and things like that. So just really showing a positive attitude through your overall body language.
Okay, and I'm sure, you go through that process. There's nerves there.
Absolutely.
So, just being mindful of what exactly you put out, what you're showing. Now, I know we've probably all at one point been caught off guard with the unexpected question where you're like, I don't know how to handle this. I'm caught off guard a little bit.
Absolutely.
What kind of feedback would you give to an interviewee if they were to get caught in a question that maybe they don't immediately know how to answer and they're taken back a little bit by the question?
Even though you've prepared and you have answers to the common questions that employers are going to ask you, you have answers to those behavior-based questions, and you've done all your preparation, you never know, like you said, what kind of questions they're actually going to ask you when you get into that interview. So I think the confidence is important, and you want to, take a breath, calm down, say they ask a question, I haven't, been in a situation like that, and they're asking you a behavior-based question, gather your thoughts. Maybe you want to clarify and make sure you've heard that question properly. And, I think being honest and genuine is important. Say you haven't experienced that particular situation and they're asking you a behavior-based question, is maybe what you would do if you had experienced a situation.
Sure.
So just, realize that you will, just to gather your thoughts and being honest, I think, and sincere and is important.
So it's okay, though, to ask, can you repeat that question?
Absolutely.
Or can you maybe say that in a different way?
Yes.
Okay.
So clarifying that, that you heard that properly.
Sure. And then kind of following up on that storytelling, that behavior-based interview question, how exactly does a candidate go through that? What exactly is the key elements of that storytelling? Is that important?
Oh, the storytelling, I think, is important because it's a way to engage even further with the employer. And that's where preparation, again, comes in. You've thought about different scenarios, that the situation, the task, the action, the result with the positive outcome. And you've maybe written those scenarios down on paper. And you've discussed them. You've talked out loud. You've prepared. You've practiced them, and then when you get in that interview, you're ready to go. But I think that the storytelling is being prepared. It's making sure your answers are clear and concise, and it's going to help you connect more with that employer when you're telling a story. They may remember something about you on how you answered that question.
Sure. And so once we've kind of gone through that interview, you get to take that sigh of relief. You get to relax for a little bit, and you're walking out those doors. Is there, what kind of follow-up is there or should there be from an interviewee after they've left? What kind of things should they be doing after they've walked out those doors?
After you've taken that big breath and you say, okay, this interview is over. One thing that's really going to make you stand out is by sending a thank you note, or I say email, because the emails are definitely going to get into that employer's inbox sooner than it would be a personal note. But it's follow-up. It's follow-up. Show that you have genuine interest, you're enthusiastic about that job, you send a thank you note, you're thanking them for their time. They've taken the time to interview you, and you appreciate that. And a thank you email is perfect, is appropriate. You could actually also thank them through LinkedIn, but I wouldn't do that solely. I would do the email, and then as well as if you could do the LinkedIn and thank them that way. But many students and alumni don't think about that and how important a thank you note is. It's just really overall good manners in society today.
Sure. And so I want to follow up on that too, because interviews are all different. So sometimes you have one person, 2, 3, 5. So when somebody is going to send that thank you letter and it's just one individual, that's easy enough. But when they have 3 individuals that they're interviewing with, are they expected to send a thank you to each person? Is it supposed to be a one-on-one email, or is it really supposed to be a general email to all 3 at the same time? What is the preference, or what does that look like when you have multiple individuals that sit in on your interview?
Yes. So you'd really want to send a personal thank you email to each individual, because you never know, they may compare notes. So it's better if you don't send the same email to all 3 of them. So I think that's really important if you have a panel interview, is making sure you have that contact information to follow up with and sending more of a personal email to each person.
Okay. And is there a timeline for when you send this information?
Yeah, just to keep at top of mind with that employer, you should send it within 24 hours, if possible. That shows, again, your interest. And if you haven't heard back from them, maybe you follow up with another email and just stating your interest and seeing where they're at with the interview process, maybe a week to 2 weeks later.
Sure. And that's a great way to follow up and say, just to get an idea of that timeline, when you're expecting to hear something and move forward with the process. So this is great. This is a lot of good information that kind of helps walk through all the different steps. And so I just want to thank you for sharing your insight, because I know, you have a lot of experience. And so we want to be able to make sure that students and alumni are able to actually get that themselves.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So thank you very much for your time.
We'd love to see you in career services.